But to have a hard life now, to have challenges right now, means that you will grow to meet those. And then relatively, the rest of your life will appear easy. We hit our 4 hour mark. So awesome. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. For any of you guys who are interested in our newest interior designer, developing business credit or deal flow, we've been recruiting to replace our last deal flow guy. Jason is no longer doing deal flow, and it's been hard for me to balance it, but we brought on a new guy. We just went through negotiations. So for him, so we've got a new business credit coach, deal flow, and interior designer. For any of those three, speak up in the Cracking Superhost group if you guys would like to meet any of those three, even before we start officially announcing their presence. So if you guys are in her. So with that said, I'll see you guys next Saturday. Esther, I've got time for one last question if you'd like. Go for it. How can I help?
Okay, I am very new to this group. I joined, I believe, about a week ago. So this whole time I've been silent, just, observing the way you answer questions and the way you give advice. I stay in Georgia, in the Stone Mountain, Atlanta area, and I'm still like trying to pick out where I want to set up shop, and I've been really confused, especially going through the course material and all the numbers you're putting out. So I've been really overwhelmed, and I was hoping that I could speak to you or somebody one-on-one
Yeah.
because I definitely need more help.
Well, that's actually exactly where we can do this. What are you looking at? What is your challenge? How can I help?
Determining a location. So there are several cities that I'm looking into. Atlanta. But the thing about Atlanta is Atlanta and Stone Mountain is in DeKalb County, but I do not stay in Atlanta, so I might have to acquire a permit for that. And also, I hear that Atlanta is pretty oversaturated with short-term rentals, and it's not gonna be the best for somebody starting out to start over there. So I'm looking at Kennesaw and Marietta and Smyrna and just a lot of other cities. But like just figuring out where would be best is the overwhelming part. I cannot really articulate that right now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you have an area that you would like to operate in that you would prefer? Because we can just see if the area you prefer is worth it. And um, from that process of finding out if the area you prefer is worth it, you can then learn market research skills through validating your first choice. And if your first choice is not good, we can just copy what you're learning to go to your next choice.
Okay, I will. Okay. Thank you very much.
What
I will
what
continue.
if I could ask you, where would you like to Airbnb? Ideally.
Preferably Atlanta because it's a really hot market. Like when people think of Georgia, the first thing that comes to mind is the city of Atlanta and, it's bells and whistles and the things you do there. Plus what's that? The State Farm Arena is also there. The Benz Stadium is also there. So Atlanta would be much preferred, but it is such a hot spot. And I remember when I was watching one of your market, I believe it was in the supply video, you mentioned that, when somewhere is such a hot spot, you don't have to be there, but you can also be in the vicinity of that area. So determining where exactly around that Atlanta area it would be best for me to set up shop.
See what I just did here? I searched Atlanta and then any week.
Mm-hmm.
So the Airbnb algorithm will serve us up their favorite listings when we make this search, right? Because their algorithm is trying to decide where it's going to make its most money, you know? And so if you
Mm-hmm.
notice, very first listing has 605 reviews and it's a treehouse, right? So that's probably one of the most popular listings in Atlanta, just dry search. Then there's this home in Atlanta here that's got a really pretty outside deck thing, and it's only 170 a night. And because this mini house is affordable and pretty, that's probably why it also is like the second best list. Then this guest house here is also super affordable, super far away, also has 138 reviews. So these first three results show us that Airbnb is looking for the listings that it thinks is most likely going to hit a customer where they are. And since they don't know what we're looking for, they gave us a treehouse, they gave us a guest house in the city, and they gave us a really cheap option in eyeshot of Atlanta, right? And if we scroll down, you'll start to see the other listings that they're showing us. We see a lot of homes are really popular here. we're not really seeing any apartments really until we get here. We see our very first apartment. So for apartments, we can see that there's going to be maybe a location element that we can find. For houses, there might be a design element. It might be that, there's a pool, for example, here. So any market that we search, we simply go to that market, hit any week, and then search and start to look for the reasons why we think listings are performing. Now, in your case, we will we can like zoom in, and if we want to look at more Atlanta proper, we can zoom into areas that you would like to host to. Like you said, you like thought that a certain arena would be good, which I think is actually up here, right?
Yeah, the State Farm Arena and by the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it also has Georgia Aquarium and
Okay, so yeah, so the
yeah,
Mercedes is
some
actually in
other
the city, right? Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so and since you live in Atlanta, I think you're able to do Airbnb in Atlanta because Airbnb's requirements are that you have to live there, right?
Oh,
So
I
if you
don't
live,
live in the city of Atlanta. I live in the city of Stone Mountain. So
but you
yeah,
live
I
in
don't
Georgia,
quite think. Yes, I do live in Georgia.
I think that's actually what matters is you have to live in Georgia. So you're good. So
Okay.
look up the regulations just to make sure that I'm right. But to do Airbnb in Atlanta, I believe that you have to live in Georgia, right? And then I think you're allowed a certain number of them. And so what we can do is we can determine like based on location here, we can this is downtown Atlanta. I think Mercedes-Benz is over on the west side of it, I think, if I remember correct. Um, but again, with this more zoomed in um, uh, map area, it'll then push us what it believes to be the best listings for this map area. So again, this guest house is still top of search. Now this apartment over here is pretty high up. We start to see more apartment listings as we get into the city. We still see a bunch of guest houses on the north side. We see some more lofts, and we can then also see what price points they're making. So this actually looks like it's like a sky house style property. It's like a cheaper build high rise. Looks like it could be a sky house.
Oh yeah, I saw that in one of my searches.
Yeah. And so now let's say you wanted to see if this one's valid. What we do, the moment we find listings that we think we could beat, because this one doesn't really have good design, like the bedroom is basic and the bathroom is basic. You see, like they didn't really do a good job on their furnishing, right? It's very basic. We want properties that we can beat. So now if this property makes money, then we might just want to compete against them, just do better design. So if we go back through what I just did, um, I looked for a property that I determined was making money, and I was able to find out how much money they were making by going to Rabu, looking in the city, looking at the seasonality chart, and I was able to guess how much they made in August, and then I can use the chart from Rabu to kind of do all the math for each month. Which I'm assuming you're probably good with numbers. I'm assuming you seem like a numbers type. Is that correct?
Yes, to some extent,
Cool. All right.
yes.
Okay, so I feel like you won't have any issue with like looking at listings, kind of finding out what their calendar makes, and then looking at Revu to find out what they make month to month. So you should have no problem like validating the incomes of listings like that. But the most important thing you can do, any city to city, is look for listings that make money, and then look for listings that make money that you could beat. In this case, this property is pretty much just selling the fact that it's a high rise in Atlanta. They did nothing with their design, which means you could beat them on the look. But this listing also wasn't really changing its price as much, which means you could also beat them on how you manage your prices. This style of picking up a property is basically finding somebody to knock down the run, right? There's this concept of quality saturation, which is every market has a stack of listings that make good money. And from that stack of listings that make good money, if you can find a way to wedge into that stack, then you just push the bottom of it down, right? There's always going to be a range of listings that make the money, and then there's always going to be this like bunch of losers at the bottom. It's like a leaderboard, and if you can find listings that are on the leaderboard as in profitable listings, and you can get above those, then you can be confident that you'll also make money. I'd like you to copy what I just did, but do it in different neighborhoods, right? Do it with different property sizes. You can change the guest count to 12 and look at Atlanta for anything that sleeps 12 or more, and it's going to start to show you bigger houses. And you can start to find out why bigger houses are making money and where they are, and you can pick up a house and compete with a house. If you want to do like apartments, like you notice how I was like zooming in to much more tight areas, you can look for apartments in certain sections that are very close to a stadium or very close to a highway. And if you can find winners in a neighborhood that are apartments, then you can copy them. if you find winners that are houses in big areas, you can copy them. You could also go to a suburb like Alpharetta is a good one in Georgia, right? So you can pick up houses in Alpharetta where they make good money and the hosts are generally pretty good, but there's still plenty of room for good hosts there. There's not enough supply of good houses in
Mm.
Alpharetta. I think your issue is that you're looking at such a wide ocean of potential. It's like a poet trying to pick the first two words of the poem, right? They just need to get some ink on the page. They just need to get started, right? I feel that's where you are.
Yes. And because I'm still in the LLC formation process. And also another question that had, because I'm familiar with Staley, with Inaya McMillan and Bryson and their whole system in regards to acquiring business credit, because I don't have that. I don't have business funding yet. So I guess my question is now with Inaya, with the Staley program, they have someone who can help you acquire business credit. But in order for that to happen, you have to be in their partnership program. And they and with your partnership program, they help you acquire the business credit, however much is needed, but you are hands off with the Airbnb management. They don't let you do anything. They're just the one who secure the property, the business credit, and they take care of it through the duration of the lease. Now, I don't want that because anyways, I hope I'm not blabbing. Anyways, now for your program, in regards to acquiring business credit, is there someone like a
Yeah.
bank, I believe a bank relationship manager, someone we can who can help us acquire the the business credit?
Yeah, so not a business, not a bank relationship manager, but I have a business credit coach in the program that can help you build your business credit. What is your credit score? What's your personal score, if you're comfortable sharing?
Right now my scores range from 760 to 780 across all three bureaus.
Well, you should be able to pull $50,000 in business credit, 50, 50.
Yeah.
So my coach, he does two forms. He does like a fee based up front where he goes through all the work to get some stuff done based on an upfront fee, or he'll do a an origination fee of a percentage of credit that he can win you. That's pretty much an industry standard, is the origination fee. So if he doesn't give you any credit, then you don't pay. But if he gets you, you can pull how much you want. Like you get approved for 25, 50, whatever, and whatever you choose to pull, then he takes an origination fee. That's really standard in the business credit development world. And but he knows how to like rapidly season an LLC or to get you access to one that can get you money right away. There's a lot of ways to do this. So if you needed money in a week or two, he's probably got some tricks up his sleeve that can get you a business funded in a couple of weeks. If you have a little bit more time and you want to do it the old school way, then he probably can get you credit in a month or two, without you having to do anything too drastic. And yeah, so he's in the program. Um, if you'd like, I can actually. Can you just send your number in the chat to me so I can get you connected with him? And I'm
Okay.
glad you chose this program because I have harsh words for Anaya and Bryson both. Um, I really don't think that they're honest people, Bryson especially. And I don't think you should ever pay somebody to run your property if you can run it on your own. And to join a program to then say, oh, also here's more money to run my Airbnb, I just really think that's disingenuous. This program is pretty much the opposite. It's be DIY every time. If you can be DIY, do it yourself. And so our business credit coach will also be doing, since he's a new ad, he's going to in a couple of weeks do his first business credit coaching Zoom. So like in 2 weeks, he's going to be doing just like this, like I'm doing, but answering questions on business credit, business formation, credit development, credit repair, even stuff like that. He's just not scheduled for a couple of weeks because we're still negotiating the terms of his coaching. If that makes sense. But if you want to do it yourself, there is a way. There's a way for you to build your own business credit and get coached to do it. If you need access to it and you want his service, he can do all the work for you. But I think it's really important that you try to do everything on your own as much as possible to retain as much profit as possible. Um, I mean, because if we're here to build businesses, right? We're not here to invest in a trend. We're here to build businesses, and I want to teach you how to do it all on your own. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I like I mentioned, I don't think it's been up to a week since I actually no. June, the last day of June. So yes, it's been a little bit over a week, but I almost chickened out of the program earlier, and I was talking to Andrew Bishop, I don't know what the I would say the representative, the one who I had the consultation with, and he talked me out of not checking out because I kept seeing on social media how people were saying that, oh, the Airbnb market is dying and how it's going down the drain. It's not going to be relevant and I've been wanting to do this for some years now, but I was still in university at the time. But people keep talking about how on one hand, people are saying the Airbnb market is dying, it's dwindling, it's not going to be relevant in the next
Mhm.
1 year, 2 years. But then I've been following your YouTube account for a long time, and you're saying no, there's still potential. So I was very much caught because I don't want to. I don't want to feel like, oh, I'm in a sinking ship. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, I decided that, maybe I should stay and give this a try still.
Well, thank you for your bravery and for your trust. We're gonna make you some money here. That's what we do. And yeah, this industry is not new, so it's not some like, oh, this is the easiest thing, just click and go. Those are cool to take advantage of when they exist. And yeah, in 2015, I think I got a little bit of that. Right, it was super easy for me. I did terrible with my interior design. All my stuff looked like a male college student furnished them. My stuff looked that bad, and I still made money. Right, because there was this like little like halo effect from Airbnb being a new startup. But this industry is established, but it's a relevant industry, right? So just like hotels have been around for hundreds of years, and short-term rentals are a differentiated product that is relevant because people want kitchens, people want multiple bedrooms, people want experiential looks, they want more privacy, right? They want larger floor plans than a hotel will give. All these different, and because there will be preference forever to stay in a home instead of just a hotel, the market just evolves. It's not that it dies. What you need to survive is different. So if you start doing houses on Airbnb, how I will coach you to do homes will be absolutely different than what I said 4 years ago. Absolutely different. What you do to do apartments, the bar is a little higher than it used to be, right? Because we are competing with hotels. But the thing about apartments is there was a lot of low effort push with guys to do apartments. There's a flood of trash, and the trash is getting washed out a lot faster than with homes because people in arbitrage don't really have the same staying power, you know. So in that way, a lot of the bad stuff has already exited, and I think that it's still a good time for arbitrage, even for apartments, because a lot of the people who were losing money lost money and got out quick. So the cool thing about a market being established is we can look at who the winners are, we can look at their track record, and then we can analyze them. If you ever studied business in school, you'd understand the concept of the fast follower. You don't lose money guessing, but you don't get to be the first into the market. But a lot of the companies that survive are the ones that weren't first, right? The ones that guessed, dropped all this money to try to figure out the market, find the fit. And then after they blew hundreds of millions of dollars to figure out the path, somebody else just comes behind them and just does exactly what they learned just without blowing $100 million in the process. So we're going to do the same thing. We're looking for the very best listings in markets, and we're looking to copy their sauce. When you're new, this is the best way to do it. And that way you can establish yourself near the top of the market. And then you can learn from a really good position in like high up in the echelon of quality. And then you can start to learn what you're really good at and what you really like. And you can build your business based on your strengths. But in the meantime, we can just look for listings that work and copy them. So somebody will lose money in this way, right? If you create a listing at the top, somebody else will get pushed closer to the bottom. That's how ranks work. So your presence will have a net impact on the industry. But as long as you intentionally put yourself high up in the spectrum of quality or value delivery, you're insulated because there are going to be hundreds of people below you that'll have to starve first before an adverse market situation can reach you. So yeah, that's what happens when a market's not new.
Yeah, because people say, oh my God, Airbnb is evolving and it's getting harder and harder. And I'm thinking, I'm new to business in general. I don't want something that's gonna be, it's just me. I'm not working with a partner. So all the mental work and brainstorming, that's all gonna fall on me. I don't want it to be so hard and so pressurized that I just have to drop off.
I wish you two things in life, either that you have an easy life your whole life or that you have a hard life right now. Because either way, you're going to have a good life later. To have an easy life your whole life, cool. Silver spoon, easy, right? But to have a hard life now, to have challenges right now, means that you will grow to meet those. And then relatively, the rest of your life will appear easy. So build a business on your own, right? Do it yourself. Be fucking scared. Risk some money, lose some sleep, work 12-hour days, right? Do it all. And then in 6 months, you will be materially different and the rest of your life will be easy.
It's interesting that you say that because when I was talking to Andrew Bishop, I told him that um my birthday is in, I believe is in 9 months, 10 in April, 9 or 10 months from now. And I currently work as a dental assistant. Well, kind of a traveling dental assistant. And by the time my birthday comes around next year, I want to be in a completely different financial situation. So how can I fast track this so that I know money doesn't come easily, and also with Airbnb, it's not as passive as people makes it seems. But at the same time, what can I do so that by this time next year, I can say that, okay, I have built something for myself. This is the Airbnb, it's flourishing, and I hope I'm not going off on a tangent. Excuse me.
No, you're fine. You will gain skills as you go through this program, and you won't attack everything at once. But hopefully, within 6 months, you're not only good at revenue management, which is the flavor of the week right now, but you're good at negotiation or sales to pick up doors. You're good at interior design, or you're good at delegation. You're good at leadership. There's going to be things you're going to pick up. You're good at guest experience. And you might get a little bit more expressive and creative and quirky and fun, and your design styles will start to express who you are. And that's going to be really, really awesome. And that's what's going to make you really dangerous in this industry. So today, we focus on putting our pen on paper and just inking some ideas. Just have a couple listings that we find that we like that look like they're making money. Then we start to research where they are, what buildings they are. You're going to research the sales part of this program to learn to negotiate and talk your way through your deals. You're going to do your very best to pick up a property like soon, if you can. And if you're having a hard time with the talking to landlords, talking to apartments, we're going to do the same thing right here, but we're going to have a very specific conversation about sales. Then once you pick up a property, we're going to talk about the putting your design ideas into reality. And if you need, you can tap into other coaches, also like Karis, who's going to be doing coaching. She can walk you through your design implications and let you know if something's too hard or too basic or whatever. And you'll get a market, or you'll get a listing onto the market, and you'll start to make cash. And you'll have guests ask you questions. You're going to respond. It's going to be fun. You're going to change your prices. And then you're going to learn from the trenches. And you're going to notice some things about this industry that you really only ever want to learn from experience. And you then will start to change what you want to accomplish in this industry based on what you love most about this industry. And that's why some people like to build housekeeping teams like myself. I love unit economics. Some people love building magical places that when you walk in, you're like, holy cool, this is the coolest thing ever, right? You're going to pick a direction probably. And you're going to nail that direction. And then as you grow, you're going to hire people like me who like to do revenue so you can do the magic. Or you're going to hire people who are good at magic because you like to do revenue, right, as you grow. So we're going to get you some traction, get you in the trenches. You're going to learn from doing every day. Then you're going to pick a path based on where you love this industry, grow based on your strengths. And then as you scale, you're going to hire the people who can fill in the cracks, because at scale, you have to be everything. To do this big, you have to do everything, but you're not going to do it alone.
Okay. And from my observation, you seem to prefer apartment buildings over single family homes or things of that nature because I initially when I was looking into this industry, my focus was on single family homes because they seem easier to peach to as opposed to apartment complexes where there are several other Airbnb short-term rental companies functioning from the same building. So the competition seems to be more stiff in an apartment as opposed to, oh, going for a single family homes.
So market to market, I will determine whether or not I prefer apartments or houses. I think Atlanta, because the restriction on how many units can exist because of the whole having to live in Georgia thing. I think Atlanta, because of its restriction, has an opportunity to do apartments because there probably is going to be less inventory, and you get cheaper properties with higher upside, right? Other markets where there's quality saturation, You need to pick a house and put a good amount of money into the look and then nail the top of the market. And then you can make the $20,000 months, but you had to knock somebody off that ladder, right? So
Mm.
there's quality differentiation. It's like for size. And then there's going to be there's going to be some level still of quality differentiation even in apartments, but which one makes the most money in return to your invested dollar will change market to market. So I think if you like the idea of being next to some stadiums in Atlanta, I think that's a good idea. But if you like the idea of having waterfront properties where families are staying for 4 or 5 day weekends or whatever, that's also valid too. That's why I asked you, where would you like to start? Because a lot of times we can do Airbnb almost anywhere. I can give you 90 different cities right now where you can make a profitable Airbnb. But where you prefer is really the most important part. And then what type of opportunity exists there, you can decide, do you like that type of property for what's going to make you? Because if you're going to go to the Smoky Mountains, like you're going to do cabins and you're going to do tree houses and you're going to do houses that are on a creek or whatever, stuff with a view. And those properties are different than what Atlanta looks like. Or if you're going to go to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, you're going to have these beachfront properties, these condos, there's going to be different stuff there. If you're going to go to Texas here, the properties that work in Texas, I've got these 3 bedroom house, like townhouses in Dallas, they're doing really well, but they required a good amount of money to do the design, right? So location, size, and design matters in Dallas. But if you go into these upper suburbs, like one of the guys that we did research earlier in this um, Zoom for one of his listings that could be in the northern suburbs, like just having a yard and a pool and size and having a good aesthetic home, somebody was making $12,000 to $14,000 a month with terrible bedrooms just by having the right size home within like striking distance of Dallas. So these every single market has a demand, and we have to find out what the demand wants. If we can nail down who demands what in any market, we can give them what they want. And so I do think in Atlanta, there's a valid opportunity for apartments for sure. I think there's a lot of money in Atlanta, and I think the money wants high rises.
Okay, I will continue doing my research in regards to location because another thing that I fear for is the seasonality. I believe that's the word you use because it's gonna become what we're in July now. It's going to be cold soon. So in the fall and I'm looking for something that if I could use the word evergreen, it's it's booming in the fall, in the summer, in the winter, whatever it is. So I hope there's still opportunities, if there's still even a market a for an evergreen investment like that, especially here in Georgia or in the Atlanta area.
You're saying a property that you nail down and just it makes money forever, no risk?
Not necessarily forever, but of course it's not going to every season it's not the same. You might not make as much money in the fall like you did in the summer, but at least even though you're making great money in the summer, you can still make great money in the fall on that same property. If I hope I said that correctly.
You know that Rabu thing that I just showed you?
Yes.
So this this shows you the extremity of seasonality, right? So 1950 to 25-27 is not a big swing, right? We're looking at a 20% swing, kind of depending on which direction you measure it. But then when we go to Pocono Lake, Pennsylvania, for example, we might see that the seasonality swings from 1700 to 6300, right? That's like a 4x swing, right? So when we do our research, we can determine which markets are hyper seasonal, which means that we do have a like April and October, November, these months we might lose money on the holding. But when you go back to Atlanta, the swing is so narrow that if you can nail down a listing profitably in Atlanta, like December and February look like the 2 months that you have to be a little careful for, but the difference between peak and low is more small. So Atlanta is a more evergreen market by your definition. Make sense?
Yes. Yes, it does.
So if you like that idea of evergreen, look for markets that don't really swing more than 20 or 30% in its revenue from peak to slow. which actually is really a tight range. 30% is still pretty tight. You'll see a lot of properties, a lot of markets, they'll double at like they'll go from 1,000 to 2,000 or 2 to 4 minimum, right? You'll see that a lot. So I would consider evergreen anything that swings less than double, probably, because you can actually go through the whole you can go through the whole year and not lose money if the swing is no more than a 50% up from 2,000 to or 50% down from 4,000 to 2,000, right? If that swing relative is no more than like twofold like that, then I consider that more to be an evergreen. Markets that swing 3x, 4x are hyper seasonal, and getting into those markets is really based on timing. You want to get in before peak season. But what's cool about those markets, if you nail a market before peak season, you can get so much cash back and get your money back like in 2 months on a hyper seasonal market. You still want to save away some money later for when you might actually lose money. So you want to keep a little extra cash in the bank through slow season, but you could literally invest cash, then spool up that cash, get a couple months in, get all your money back, and still have a really good cash balance 3 months later after picking up a property in a hyper seasonal market. Now that could then affect how you grow. Let's say the Poconos has a really good like March, April, May, June, July, something like that. So you get into March, you start to build, you get all your money back by June. Then you go invest in somewhere like Atlanta, and your Atlanta property should be profitable enough to carry any loss that you have in your seasonal market, something like that. So I really think that once you have context, you might find that this industry is full of little efficiencies that people don't even think about.
What are your thoughts to adding murals to listings to up the
Absolutely,
experience?
absolutely, but not only, not limited to murals. Murals are an example of effort. You found me through social media, right? And
Yes.
the concept of effort applies to any algorithm, YouTube, Instagram, Airbnb. If you find a video that is low effort, you're going to click away. Like it's creator like it's like unless the topic is super timely, like let's say something just exploded in Manhattan, and I'm the first person to say I'm right here, something just exploded in Manhattan, right? Timeliness matters, but then effort matters also. So that relationship between relevance and effort, and whether or not somebody clicks on something is a big point. And with Airbnb properties, you don't really get to take advantage of timeliness unless we're talking about like a Coachella or Super Bowl. That would be like the timely thing. So you can have a low effort property make a lot of money in a timely market like a Super Bowl. But when you don't have timely demand, you need a more high effort look. And so murals, wallpaper, doing work on the ceiling, there's all sorts of stuff that you can do to create the illusion of effort that doesn't cost a lot of money. Murals might actually cost money, but you can wallpaper that looks like a mural, and wallpaper doesn't cost nearly as much money because you didn't have to pay an expert. You just had to get the wallpaper and run it. One of my students in Mexico City has got 500 doors, and all of his rooms are wallpapered, but they're like comic book, like huge. They look like murals. So, yeah, effort is what you're looking for, and murals is an example of effort.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. That's all the question I have right now.
Well, it was my pleasure to help. I'm glad that you spoke up at the end. I'm glad that we took this little time. I don't want you ever to feel like you're intruding or like you're out of place for asking a coach a question. So reach out to Josh and Monish and their calls too. Brandy's an accountant when you need her. Karis will be our design coach, and then a guy named Wasim will be our credit guy, and he actually manages our deal flow guys too. So um, more to come, but I'll also be here next Saturday if you need me next Saturday, and then also any day of the week you can comment in the Cracking Superhost group and ask for answers to things, share your thoughts, get feedback. And the Cracking Superhost group has like over 1,000 successful hosts in it that will also give you feedback too. It's a really good community.